Let's do this. Okay. So I'm with Richard Marr. He's a political science professor at Randolph-Macon College. We're here to talk about the debate. It ended 23 minutes ago. It was pretty explosive at moments, honestly. It was not exactly what I was expecting. But, anyways, like I said, Richard Marr, political science professor at Randolph-Macon College. What's your initial reaction fresh off of the debate?
Well, you should be surprised after that debate that I let you even finish that sentence. If I was Winsome Earl Sears, I wouldn't have let you finish that sentence. My other big takeaway is that I should start every sentence with importantly. So that's just the like surface level ticks of what was the dynamics here. But I mean, my overall takeaway is like, I don't want to sound like, was it Dennis Allen, the football coach, who was like, they are who we thought they were. It really, it doesn't necessarily change, I think, the dynamics of the race. The knock on Spamberger is that she's kind of boring and not exciting and a little aloof. And, that's certainly how she came off here. But if you are, and that Winsome Sears is a kind of wild card and somebody who, might not be ready for this kind of like high level position. And I think if you like Winsome L. Sears, then you liked her belligerence and her interrupting and her attacking. If you liked Abigail Spamberger, you liked her like calmness and collectiveness and her just sort of sticking with the program. But I think the problem is for Winsome Earl Sears, right, is that the dynamic of the race is that more people don't like Winsome Earl Sears than like Spamberger. Like more people like Spamberger than her. So I don't think it like is gonna change anybody's minds who were like leaning one way or the other. And the risk here was all taken by Sears, and I don't know that it paid off for her, right? That just the constant chatter and interrupting, and like if you want to look presidential or gubernatorial, right? I just don't think that's what she conveyed here.
So, again, I'm with Richard Marr. He's a political science professor at Randolph-Macon College. Let's talk about what issues dominated the debate. And I think it's one issue if you have to look at the debate from start to finish, and it was Jay Jones.
Yeah.
Um, it was a moment when Earl Sears just looked at Spamberger and was just like asking, are you going to call on him to drop out, or are you going to confirm your endorsement of him? That was a tense moment. Do you think that will have any impact? Because the Jay controversy is big. I mean, it's hitting places. I have people from Florida texting me about it. I have people from New York texting about it. And so it definitely hits. And do you think that will have any impact on any voters?
I don't think so. I mean, I think Spamberger, I don't know that she played it as well as she could, but she didn't end up doing any damage here, right? Because I really do think what she said, like the functional truth of what she said is right. She's running her race and Jones is running his.
That's what Earl Sears said back in the John Reed scandal.
Yeah.
Like, the statement is like, we both have our races running. The irony there was wild. But Spamberger also pointed it out. It wasn't like she did it blindly. She was like, my opponent said that about John Reed too.
Yeah. Yeah. So it makes it hard. I mean, I think what Sears might have been looking for was some kind of like strong commitment one way or the other, and she just wasn't going to get it. And yeah, it makes Spamberger look wishy-washy or unable to make a decision there. But it's not like it's a viral moment that's really gonna, change the campaign. I mean, what else are the Democrats gonna do, right? They can't get rid of Jones. They're sort of stuck with him. They're not happy about it. They're not happy about this like weirdness that he did. But he still might win. Right? He still might be the next attorney general just because of the overall dynamics of the race. So what is Spamberger supposed to do there? I mean, I think politically, right? I feel I kind of felt bad for her as like a person, like, what are you going to do there? There is no good answer. So she did what she was supposed to do, which is sort of just not answer at all. And it's not great. Like, ideally, you want people to answer these things, but like, what else should she do?
Yeah, it was interesting. And I'm curious to see if any Democrats who are still strong on the Jay Jones train will be bothered by that.
Yeah.
But I do think she really didn't have anywhere she could go with that. She's put in this tough situation. What other issues do you think really stood out from the debate? I know there was trans, weed, and then Winsome made that that's not discrimination comment when Spamberger said that she doesn't support, or Spamberger said Winsome does not support allow, or she has moral objections to gay marriage, and Winsome yelled, "That's not discrimination." I
Yeah,
mean,
that's not going to be good. I mean, that I feel like was the worst moment for any particular candidate in the debate, right? To just sort of yell that out. And that's just not in keeping with the times here, right? Not in Virginia. That's not going to play well. And it's not sort of where the I think public opinion is on that. I mean, and the irony is right that starts kind of coming out of the transgender issue, where I think the public are more with Winsome Earl Sears, like are more with her kind of. I think her pressing the argument about common sense. I mean, I would argue with the sort of the way she's just doggedly pursued her Abigail. Why will you not? Like the questions and just directing everything to her and never sort of backing off from that. Because after I think a while it became really tiresome. It was certainly tiresome for the moderators, but I think it was tiresome for people watching it. But I think that is a strong issue for them. Like I do think that the Democrats have a tough time trying to justify where they've been on that issue to where people are in the public, whatever the moral case is, right? But I think she lost a lot of ground there. Sears did just by that. Like, I mean, that would have been a case where I think maybe you just keep quiet about that issue, but instead sort of yelling out, "That's not discrimination," and then not having a chance to add some nuance to that. But I don't even think she would have much nuance to that. I don't think it would help her to say even more about that.
so let's shift to trans issues. So Abigail would not directly answer if she supports biological males participating in female sports and going into locker rooms. Do you think, I mean, this isn't anything new. We didn't really learn anything new, but do you think that that type of non-answer from Spamberger will have any impact in the election?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I do think she had the right non-answer, but she didn't phrase it as strongly as she should. Like, I really think she should have said, this is a local issue. Glenn Youngkin should take his nose out of it. Like, let's let local. I mean, that's what she said essentially, but she didn't say it strongly enough. I mean, I think that's a good ground to kind of respond to it on. Like, look, however I feel about it is irrelevant. I mean, it's kind of what Sears was trying to say on the abortion issue, right? Like, it's not me. It's let the people decide. But Spamberger just didn't like hammer that point home well enough, I think. So I don't think it's going to damage her like dramatically in this campaign because I don't think the transgender issue has been really hitting in the same way that some of the Democratic issues have been hitting. But I do think like she missed an opportunity there to really just shut it off, and she should have done it.
Again, I'm with Richard Marr from Randolph-Macon College, and now we have Sam Shirazi, who just
Hey,
joined us.
Sam.
How's it
Hey,
going, man?
good, good. Thanks for having me. I have my kids around, so hopefully they won't come bug. I don't know what I can say, but thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. So give us your reaction, your initial reaction to the debate. What did you think?
Yeah, so I think it didn't seem like a game changer either way. I mean, in these types of things, each campaign is looking for the big moment they can kind of seize upon. I think for the Winston Earl Sears side, they're going to point to some of Spamberger's comments and responses about Jay Jones's texts. Obviously, that's the main thing they want to be talking about. I think to the extent, Spamberger had to be defensive. She tried her best to answer. There was never really going to be a great answer. I don't think Spamberger did anything where it's gonna, a total gap, total game changer. For the Spamberger folks, I mean, I think they're very clearly gonna pounce on some of the comments Earl Sears made about discrimination, specifically that it's not discrimination about same-sex marriage and being able to fire gay employees. Yeah, I'm sure. I think to a certain extent that is probably going to be used by Spamberger, but I'm not sure how much it's really going to move the dials because most people who are probably not going to vote for her who don't agree with that. So, long story short, interesting debate. I think in some ways, I guess the last thing I'll say, and I'm sorry if you've already talked about this, but one thing I noticed that's a little bit different. This is kind of the presidentialization of Virginia governor's debates because my sense is in the past it was not necessarily like this. There's much more decorum. There was kind of the old school way of doing things in Virginia, and this is much more kind of Trump era type debate, interruptions, And Spanberger was trying to kind of do it the old-fashioned way, and I think Earl Sears, because she's down, I mean, she had to be aggressive, was trying to do it maybe more in like a Trumpier type style.
So someone just commented and said that they think it was a draw on the issues, but a huge difference in style. Who was better served by their presentation during the debate? So if both of you can give me an answer, Richard, you can go first.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that if the goal is to look gubernatorial or like presidential, then Spamberger did that. I mean, the knock is that she's not terribly exciting, but particularly I think in an era where we're reacting against Trump, like unexciting is not bad, right? That she looked more gubernatorial. Winsome Earl Sears was like auditioning for a spot on a Fox News panel show, right? It's just more energetic and more dramatic. But I don't know that that necessarily carried over into like if there was anybody waiting to be won over here, I don't know that just the persistent like questioning and interrupting, like it's one thing to sort of deploy that somewhat, but just like the constant level of that, I just don't know that read as gubernatorial to anybody who was thinking like, all right, which of these two women is going to be the next governor of the state? I don't know if you felt the same way, Sam, or if you felt it was different.
Yeah, I mean, I think probably the average viewer is looking and saying, why is she interrupting? I think when you're behind, you have to be more aggressive. I'm sure that's what she was trying to do. Uh, you know, I think from a Republican standpoint, they probably wanted her to be aggressive. And if you're kind of a Republican, you're like, oh, at least she's trying, at least she's going after Spanberger, because this was kind of really the one opportunity she can try to maybe make up some ground. I don't know if she's made up the ground, but at least I think her supporters will feel like she tried her best, and she may have gone overboard. But I think when you're in her position, when you're down in the polls, you have to do something, because otherwise, time's running out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. Do you think either of them missed a big opportunity to take a stance or really reframe the race in any way, even in some small incremental way?
The one thing I noted, well, so I think for Spanberger, I think she could have highlighted the federal stuff more. I mean, she tried to, but the debate wasn't really about the shutdown or the federal cuts. And, obviously that's what Spanberger wants to be talking about. I think she could have done more, but again, she was playing it safe. She didn't want to go overboard. I think for Earl Sears, I mean, she spent 2 months on the trans issue. She got a few lines in there, but it really wasn't much of the focus of the debate. So I mean, it's a little odd that Earl Sears spent like 2 months building up to this on the trans issue, and then it kind of was like an afterthought in the debate. So I think those were missed opportunities.
Yeah, and I think that one of the things that I've been noticing about the Democrats, right, is they're really pushing the Trump bad guy argument, but it's Trump bad guy for your wallet, your pocketbook. Like like Trump is a danger to the economy more, and I think highlighting the federal budget cuts and the job cuts up in Northern Virginia, that's playing, I think, pretty well here for the Democrats in Virginia. Um, so I was surprised that Spanberger didn't push more on the sort of economic pocketbook kind of issues. But I do think also, Sam, it's like you're saying, like the debate wasn't about that. Spanberger was trying to follow the rules, and these are the questions that are asked of me, and I'm going to answer them as they come up, as opposed to Sears, who is like taking the like whatever we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about Jay Jones for the first 20 minutes, and then we're going to talk about trans issues for I thought it would be longer, like you're saying, but at least the next few minutes. And then finally she started like I think I got my note is like 25 minutes in before Sears answered a question about jobs without saying Abigail in the answer. Right. It was always about redirecting back to Spanberger and not about what she was about or anything like that.
So Harrington in the comments just asked, do you feel that Miaras would have preferred Winsome brought up the Jones story less, given her shaken delivery on it? I don't necessarily agree that her delivery was shaky, but I did think about this during the debate that there was a risk of honestly making people almost feel bad for Abigail for being in that situation. What do you think of all this? Like, was that a good method of delivery to use the Jay Jones stuff against Abigail?
I mean, I think Earl Sears had to do something, and the one thing is she kind of brought it up about the car when it was about the car tax, and like they were
Yeah.
gonna ask a question. I know she was eager to get to it, but they're gonna bring it up. You just wait. But I think Miara's wanted her to be as aggressive as possible on that. I mean, the more that is the focus of the debate, the better for Earl Sears, the better for Miara. So I think in that sense, it was kind of dominated the first half of the debate. I mean, Spanberger knew she was going to be asked about it. She knew there was no great answer. Did the best she could with it. She just wanted to survive. She just wanted to move on. And in that sense, I think she did that. Like it wasn't like this isn't going to be the front page of the news tomorrow, New York Times about the debate in Virginia. It's just going to be like, oh yeah, there was also debate in Virginia. So I think Spanberger did what she had to do. Pearl Sears tried her best. I think she landed some punches, but it wasn't like the total game changer.
Yeah, and I mean, if you were going to ask me who won or who lost the debate, I don't know who won it, but I know Jay Jones lost it because we were sitting there watching this debate between two good gubernatorial candidates, and here we're getting this I don't know who the actor they got to read the quotes in, but
That was
Jones.
crazy. That was crazy.
I know that they actually played the whole thing through. I mean, I thought that was wild.
Yeah.
To take and it was a full 2 minutes of the debate to play that. And again, it's a big story, but I thought it was an interesting choice. But I'm just imagining Jay Jones sitting in his house just watching this stuff happen, and it was just a little bit much there. So I mean, I do think that Miaris has to be happy with that. I think that Jones has to be very unhappy with that. And I think the more that other people are talking about this and Miaris doesn't have to, the better it is for him. The better it is for him to have other, Republicans kind of point out how terrible the things that he said was.
Yeah. Sam had to hop off to take care of his kids. He gave me more time than he originally promised, so I'm really appreciative.
Thanks, Sam.
I'll let you go soon too. But as far as this impacting Jay Jones, it's hard to think that the gubernatorial debate might have an impact on the attorney general race. And at the end of the day, people were watching this debate, and sometimes, even if the people don't hold it against Abigail, it might impact Jay. Do you think this will impact the AG race at all?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it was good for Jones. I mean, I think Jones has a path to victory still, right? That just the nationalization of state elections, this is just down year for Republicans, good year for Democrats, right? And we don't know how it's going to shake out, right? Anything can happen. I don't want to get into the prediction business, but if things go the way they've been going, right, Democrats should do well here in Virginia. So Jay Jones has now made that very difficult for himself, but he could still just kind of hang on. If he can just hang on and get to election day, the D next to his name might just carry him over the finish line. But you have to hang on, right? And every time this this sort of roller coaster or the ride shakes like this, it makes it harder to hang on to it. So I just think it makes his job much harder for next week too, because there's supposed to be this debate between Miaris and Jones, and that's going to be a really tough one for Jones to get through. If he's going to try and do what Spanberger did today, which is not answer the question, it's going to be really hard for him to do that.
What voter blocks do you think each of the nominees were trying to speak to, with their methods and messaging? Who do you think Winston was targeting? Who do you think Abigail was targeting?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, it seems to me like Abigail was acting like the front runner, right? And when you're the front runner, you're just trying not to mess things up. You've already got people in your corner, your base is on board, you've got a lot of people in the middle, so you're really just trying not to lose anybody. So I think that she was very conservative in her answers, very conservative in her approach to the debate. She's not going to attack, she's not going to interrupt, she's not going to respond, almost not even looking at Sears. So I really think her appeal was I've got a winning coalition, I'm just going to keep them together. Sears, on the other hand, is acting like the challenger. I mean, Sam was saying this, that we knew she was going to be aggressive. I think she was overly aggressive, but certainly she kept kind of attacking. I think she was trying to pull people away from this coalition, whether that's, I don't know about Democrats exactly, but any independents, anybody middle of the road people who think they're in Spanberger's corner. I think she was trying to say, no, her stuff on, she's friends with this guy, Jay Jones, who's terrible and won't denounce him enough. She's in on transgender stuff. She won't do enough there. She's a liar. You know what? It almost seemed like this was an ad for, it almost felt like a podcast where we're doing ad reads. every 5 minutes because she's pitching her website for Spamberger lies. So I think she's really just trying to peel people off from Spamberger. That's really what I think it was about.
And before we go, any defining moments that you can remember for each candidate? I mean, in my opinion, it was Winsome looking directly at Abigail and asking her to either support Jay or call for a withdrawal. And for Abigail, it was when they were talking about gay marriage, and Winsome said her opposing gay marriage morally is not discrimination. I think both sides are going to be able to use those as ads. I don't know if you agree with those. So, like, looking back, what are your defining moments?
I mean, I think you're definitely right about the thing that Winsome said. I don't know about um, the Sears asking Abigail Spamberger about, like, because it was a pose she struck often. First of all,
Yeah.
right, looking at Spamberger and saying, "Abigail, what will you do? Why won't you do this?" The thing is that Spamberger never answered, right? And so having her just stare at her blankly, I mean, yes, it was dramatic in the moment of the debate, but it's hard to pull that out and sell it like as here's the moment you need to know that has defined this candidate. It's a little squishier. It's a little harder to tell that story as opposed to saying she wants to oppose gay marriage and so that's not discrimination. I mean, that's a little more of a kind of like a gotcha thing. And I think it's like, it's not even just a gotcha, like it's accurate. Like this is what who Winsome Earl Sears is, like kind of unapologetically, and just hasn't like come out that much on the campaign trail. She's a very strong conservative. This is her belief system. And I think that that's going to help Spamberger in this environment, in this Commonwealth, right, in this election, because I don't think that's where the public is right now.
Yeah. Yeah, it was definitely an intense debate at moments, very entertaining, if I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah.
I don't know if entertaining is good for the Commonwealth or not in that scenario, but, I did appreciate Spamberger's comments saying, "You keep calling me your enemy. I am not your enemy. You're not my enemy. We're political opponents." And there was that nice moment where they had to say nice things about each other, so, I don't know, I'd like to see some more of that,
Yeah.
but, at the end of the day, it's an election with a lot on the line, and they're both giving it their all. So we'll see. I really appreciate you talking to me tonight. And for everyone who missed part of this, I'll be sending it out in full to my newsletter list. And again, this was Richard Marr. He's a political science professor at Randolph-Macon College, and he's my go to guy for analysis.
Thanks, Brandon. Great to talk
All
to
right.
you.
You too.